Okay, in this video we're going to move away from the glitz and the glamour of lovely dashboards and reports and so forth and talk about the pragmatic issues surrounding Insurance MI, and in particular how do we improve the data integrity on the information pool that you are going to make hard and fast management decisions on, and how do we handle the very real world issue of bad data that can easily creep in to your MI. So in the first video we talked about how do we get calculations right. We talked about if you've got lots of policies and you're starting with written premium, how do you convert those sensibly into earned premium, and how do you handle the complexities of additional transaction types such as MTAs, renewals, and of course then the more complex ones of recognizing earned premium for cancellations and then reinstating that earned premium with a reinstatement transaction and earning that correctly so that at the end of the year earned equals written. All good stuff. So we did that. Then we moved on to the nicer side of it. We're saying, okay, if we take your premium and claims data, irrespective of where they come from, we mash those all together and put it in a common reporting database, and then we can analyze that by your line of business, whether it's motor, shipping, household, aviation, whatever, doesn't really matter, and we can analyze it instantly from within your tool of choice, Excel, and optionally deploy that through mobile devices, through the web, using state-of-the-art reporting tools like Microsoft's Power BI. So what would happen there is you'd start with a nicely packaged app. This is an example of Walsingham's application. They pick on a particular report and it fires that report up. They've now got an interactive triangulation where they can actually double click and change the region, the age band, no claims bonus, anything you want, and instantly get the data refreshed. Then we can see are we winning or losing through dashboards, so we can start articulating the earned or written premium and graph that against the incurred loss ratios made up of recoveries, paid claims and outstanding, and obviously the gap is effectively the underwriting profit. Now that's all good stuff, and it's all good stuff we do with our EIB Insurance Analytics product. But, and there is a big but here, we've made one totally wrong assumption at this stage, which all the other BI software vendors tend to make, but we haven't. We've just actually postponed addressing this to this third video, and that is, but your data is wrong and it's bad. Now I know what you're thinking. If you're sitting there thinking, yeah, maybe in other MGAs and insurers, but not me. Sorry, yes it is. It is bad. We have not had one customer so far where the actual data has been correct. And this is not just us through our experience of putting the systems in. If we look at information from PricewaterhouseCoopers here, they say that actually 28% of all insurance execs are worried about the quality, accuracy and completeness of the data, and they're saying it's not high enough. And that's combined with the fact that until you have a product like EIB Insurance Analytics, then it's also difficult to assess which data is truly useful even in the first place. But the big one we're going to focus on today is the quality and accuracy. And if I'm really honest, I think that is a mass understatement. If I look at the research that we did at BIBA, out of about 200 respondents, 43% thought they had bad data in their MI. Now that's not interesting just it is interesting just on its own as a statistic, but it's even more interesting when you compare the next fact that 90% of respondents said that accuracy was by far the most important aspect of any MI application. So that's almost in direct contrast to each other. How can you have that when 43% are pretty sure that the information's wrong? If you want my honest opinion, I think that's more closer to 80%. I was talking to one MGA MD the other day, and they said that people who are saying they haven't got bad data are either blissfully unaware or they're in denial. There is no other scenario, and that's quite interesting in its own right. So how do we handle that? I'll come and show you how we handle this, but this is effectively how we do it. We reject any information that is clearly erroneous, and we highlight the reason for that rejection. And that rejection can be done on industry or customer specific rules. More of that later. And of course we do that for both the premium side, and we also do it for the claim side. So let's have a look and see, well, how do we do it? How does that look in a real application? So I'm going to go over here to our friends at Walsingham. Nice glossy menu when they come into the system. In the other videos we've gone into the various aspects of going into non-fleet and picking a report, picking a dashboard. That's all really nice, but it does rely at this stage really on you being confident that the information is accurate, or if it's not, you certainly know what has been rejected. So they don't go here and pick the nice triangulation report as their start point. Where they actually start each morning is coming in and looking at the audit and error checking. Now it's all very well me saying, well, okay, we just reject any erroneous information, but think about it, that's dangerous in its own right. You know, imagine if you go to your underlying back office system, you add up all the premiums and it says 20 million. You then come into our MI database using EIB Insurance Analytics, and we say the good news is all the data is cleansed and it's 18.5 million. Now, would that give you confidence or would it give you concern? I guarantee the latter, because how can we explain it? How can we explain there is a 1.5 million difference in that example from what we actually put in the MI database to what actually exists in the premiums, claims, bordereau files or back office system? So the very important first check we do is, if you like, a reconciliation between your source systems and the information we put in the MI database. So on the left hand side here, we are querying using our software your underlying source system. So we're saying here that when we first got the information here, 42 million came out of gross premium, including IPT as one of the checkpoints here, and that was 42 million of raw information. But there was actually 108,000 worth of errors, and there was 1 million worth of duplicated transactions. So actually, when we actually take those away, the process data in the source system really equates to 40.9 million of clean data. And guess what? That's exactly what we posted to the MI database. So the nice thing here is that any audit function in your organization, or even external audit, you can come in here and you can explain exactly why there are any differences. Now, of course, that's great, but the obvious question there is, well, where is that erroneous data? And we do this obviously here both on the premium and the incurred here. So all I've told you here is that there's an issue. I've told you why there's an issue in terms of how we can explain the differences, but I've not actually explained, well, what can you do about it? You know, telling you you've got 68,000 worth of erroneous claims and you've got 108,000 worth of erroneous premiums doesn't really help you. It doesn't help you at all. So the next point here is to really go, okay, what can you do actually about this? So if I come out here and go to the data errors report, then what this will do, it will crank up and show you every transaction from every policy that we've rejected, and it will give you all the detailed policy information, obviously starting with the number, the transaction code, is it new business, is it cancellation, is it an MTA, is it reinstatement, so forth, and then all the basic fields that make up that transaction for that policy. Now the bit that we add in, and the clever bit, is at the end we add in this column where we actually tell you what's wrong with the information. And I said earlier on, this can be a mixture of industry rules and customer specific rules, and I'll give you an example of the difference. If I take cancellation with no adjustment date, that is clearly an industry rule. If we don't have the adjustment date, then think about it, we can never ever accurately actually calculate earned premium. It's impossible, because the earned premium cancellation is all around working from a date to the end of the policy and earning proportionally. So if there's no adjustment date there, I can't earn the premium. It has to be rejected. Otherwise, your written premium won't equal your earned premium, which we all know cannot be the case. Now that's a hard and fast industry rule, and if we actually scroll down here, you'll also see some other hard and fast industry rules. I can't have an MTA or a cancellation where that adjustment date for the actual MTA or cancellation was actually before the policy start date. Now you'd think that can never happen, but as you can see here, there are transactions that prove it can. And going further down here, you've got things like duplicate keys, where again you've got an order of transactions that can't possibly be the case because you've got multiple transactions with the same key in the underlying back office system. And then you've got things like a cancellations applied to year before renewal. So it's actually got out of sync in terms of where the information should go. Now, all of these are example of industry logic. I'm now going to actually take some customer logic. And here we've got some things in where we knew they were entered as test policies and the description was given test policy, so we can filter those out. You can argue whether they should have been cleansed at the beginning and not added into the system, but while they were testing, this information got added in to the back office system. So that's a customer specific piece of validation. Likewise, if I scroll back to the top, another piece of customer specific validation, in this case for Walsingham, is they weren't allowed to write business before they started the agency on the 1st of December in 2012. So if there are policies with start dates before that date, then clearly they can't be correct. They're either test policies or they're erroneous policies. So again, we flag that up. And we do exactly the same on the claims. Here now I've got the claim reference in here, and I've got all the detail, a lot more information in the claims transaction in this example, going through bodily damage, injury reserves, own damage incurred, third party, all those good things. But ultimately, when we get through all the information, there again is this error description column where I can inform you what's wrong, why have we rejected the information. Classic one here where the actual incident date of the accident was actually greater than 12 months after the policy start date, so that can't be right. Also, when we're getting information coming in from brokers, I guess quite a common one is where the policy number was recorded incorrectly. So when we load the claims in and try to match it to the premiums, then there is no matching policy record for that particular claim. So putting these things together, what have we done? We first of all reconciled the information of what's coming out of your source systems versus what's going into your MI database. Secondly, we've come up with totals for premiums and claims where there is erroneous data. And thirdly, we've then broken down those totals into individual transactions where we've explained the reason why we are rejecting this information from your premiums or claims MI. Now, of course, the great thing about that means that as you take on board some of these things, you go back into your operational systems and make the corrections and put in the dates and check that the actual dates align with the policy. Then obviously the next time the information is loaded into the MI, then these should disappear. And obviously the goal over time is to partially or ideally totally eradicate any erroneous information. Then you're back on to the stuff we covered in the previous videos where you can look at really nice, interactive, fast and scalable dashboards and reports. But, and the big but, is this time knowing that it's actually on correct data. Thank you.